We'll start with some announcements, a more important announcement. I'd like to turn it over to our superintendent.
Well, thank you. This is the beginning of my 19th year of service to the Rush-Henrietta Central School District, and it's a time that has come that after a great deal of thought and conversation with my family and with the board, I've decided this is going to be my last year. I'm going to retire in July of 2018, and there's no singular reason for my retirement other than just a sense that it's time to move on. That I've enjoyed the contributions that I've been allowed to make here at Rush-Henrietta. In addition, it represents a capstone of 40 years of service to the educational community. My retirement gives me an opportunity to reflect a little bit on those accomplishments and with great satisfaction the work we've done here together at Rush-Henrietta. My wife obviously is very interested in this retirement. She has reminded me that time is fleeting, and that I need to take advantage of the later part of my life to travel with her and to spend more time with my 8 grandchildren, the oldest of which is 8 years old. So we want to be able to do that. So in any event, it's a bittersweet moment, but it's time to turn the leadership role over to some new folks, and we'll move on. After 19 years, the district has not had to go through a superintendent search. It's a rather laborious and time-consuming activity, one that needs to be given very great care and thought, one that many people are going to want to have their voice heard. And because of that, in discussing my decision with the board over the past few months, we felt that rather than wait until January or February, it would make more sense to make an announcement now and allow the selection process to begin. In that spirit, I've invited our BOCES 1 Superintendent, Dan White, to join us this evening, just to spend a few moments with the board doing an overview of the key elements of the process, some of the timeline considerations, and setting up a time later in the month perhaps to explore the process features, designs in greater depth. So with that, what I would ask the board, if it's your pleasure, is to add an item to the agenda that would allow Dan to present his thoughts to us.
Folks, Ken, first of all, I want to say congratulations on your years of service. Thank you to you for what you've done for this community and this district. Thank you to you for what you've done for our organization at Monroe 1 as well. You helped us through a lot of tough times as well, so I'm very appreciative of that, and congrats
You're welcome.
on everything.
One more year.
One more year, you got it. And tonight, folks, I do understand that we are in the middle of an agenda that you have other business, so what I want to do is take about 10 minutes of your time just to have a brief discussion with you. We certainly can't get into all of the details and decisions that need to be made in a superintendent search, but I do want to give you some things to start thinking about as we begin to walk through this process, some discussion items maybe for the board to have. It is certainly a task. It certainly is time consuming. It's probably the most important decision that a Board of Education can make, and that is who's going to be the chief executive officer that's going to run this organization. My job as a search consultant, if you choose to use the district superintendent as a search consultant, is to really make this process as seamless as possible for you and to provide the opportunity where you don't have to worry about managing a process. You can make the best decision possible at the end of the process. So I have a very brief outline for you that I do want to walk through. Please, just like when we spoke in May, if you have a question, stop me part of the way through. I will leave you with a few prompts at the end of things that I think you should begin thinking about a little bit as a Board of Education. And again, we certainly cannot get into all the detail tonight, but I do want to get you thinking on a couple things. So first page, really, when a board is facing a search, 99.9% of the boards of education in this state and probably in the country use a search consultant. And they really come in 2 different forms in New York State. There are private consultants. You probably know of some of them. Universities sometimes employ them, private entities. And or in New York State, you use the Office of the District Superintendent. That would be me for yourselves at Monroe 1. A little bit of a difference is I'm also the Chief Executive Officer of Monroe No. BOCES. It's under the authority of the Office of the District Superintendent where we actually do the searches. I certainly do use some of the resources that are available at Monroe No. when we do the searches, the Public Relations Service, our Personnel Office, and so forth. But it's a little different perspective on that. To give you a sense of costs as you're starting into this decision-making process as a board, private consultants generally run about $15,000 to $25,000 for the fees for the search consultant. There are generally some other expenses of doing a search on top of that, and I'll go through those in just a second. Using the district superintendent, there are no fees for my service. You're a member of a cooperative, and one of the services that we offer through the Office of the District Superintendent is superintendent searches, and we do a number of other things as well. So the differences in the cost, in general, the other expenses that go into a search are usually run about $5,000 for a district. Those would be things like advertising, printing of brochures. If you want to do a video, you're going to provide refreshments for your stakeholder committees and so forth. But that's about the average expenses that you're going to get into. The differences in the two, really, the vast majority of search consultants run very similar processes. Okay, I know a number of you saw a presentation that my colleague did at school boards. Monroe to Orleans, Joanna Tenacey, a very good friend of mine. We do almost identical processes. Most of the private search consultants do similar type of activities. So just to give you a sense, in general, the process that you're going to have set forth in front of you is very much the same. I'm a little bit biased. It used to be tradition at Monroe No. that private search consultants did all the searches. Now they don't do any of them. They come to our office, and I feel like I've been here 9 years. I know the district. I know the personnel. I feel like I'm in a better position, and my folks are in a better position to understand what you need as a district and what we need to do to make this process work for you as a community. So a little pitch there on that one. If you flip to page, a couple aspects of what you should expect from a search consultant when you get into a superintendent search. Number one, we manage the confidentiality of the process that gives the board an arm's length. What I mean by that is every application that will come in for this position comes into my office. We categorize them, we file them, we get them set for you to view as a Board of Education, but no paper for this search comes into the district. That does not put your personnel in a situation of knowing confidential information as it comes in. You should expect management of the process from the very beginning, the initial stages, all the way through the end when your school attorney is negotiating a contract with the candidate. There's a lot of detail that goes into that we can talk about later, but a good search consultant is going to manage that all for you from beginning to end. One of the things that I will do is anybody who shows interest or who makes application to the position, I will meet with them one-on-one, or if they're at distance, I will talk with them on the phone to vet them, get a sense of their credentials, talk to them a little bit about the district, what the district is looking for, answer any questions they have, and I will do some initial referencing. So any completed application that you see as a Board of Education has received some vetting up front. That gives you a better set of information from which to work from. Training of committees, we're going to move to a point where you're going to want to involve stakeholders in doing interviews. We provide question development and training for those committees. So those committees are well-versed and ready to interview candidates when they come in the door. Handling of media. You probably will get some media inquiries, and this is something that my folks and my personnel will work with you ahead of time on how and when we're going to release information, what those statements look like, and so forth. But the media inquiries really should come in to my office so that you're not having to deal with that as a Board of Education. We'll talk about these things up front. And really the last part is, again, a good search consultant is going to manage this process to allow the board to focus on making a decision. So you don't have to worry about a lot of the detail. So let's talk a little bit about timeline. On average, a search from the initial posting timeline through that applicant or candidate walking in your door usually takes about 6 months. So that's everything from we post that position through application process, interviewing, negotiation of a contract, then ultimately a candidate often has 60 days, if they're coming from outside, 60 days notice that they have to give their own school district, at least 6 months. So for the sake of an argument, if we were talking about a potential July 1 start, this is something the board needs to start thinking about. What is really the desired start date? Is it July 1? Is it a different date? Back up at least 6 months from there, from the time that we want to post it. If you're talking about a July 1 start, my recommendation is that we are out by December 1 with the posting. The holidays do throw a wrench in there a little bit. There are times when board members are going to be traveling and so forth. It gives us a little bit of a cushion. So be thinking about that 6-month window, however, from beginning to end of the actual formal process. Flipping over, why? Here's the major bullets aspects of the search. Postings and advertisements. The 99% of the postings and advertisements that are made on superintendent searches nowadays are done online. We do 2 major things: New York State Council of School Superintendents and New York State School Boards. They have links into their national partners, so in effect, you're doing a national search by doing these online postings. I have not done a search in the last 5 years that's done a paper posting. That's not really where candidates are looking. These websites are known. People that are going to be looking in New York State are going to be looking on these websites. There are links right through to our application process on my website. So sometimes boards will ask about, well, how do we get, should we be doing a national search? I will tell you that the vast majority of your candidates are going to come from a regional pool, likely, many local. You will get some out-of-state candidates who want to get into New York State simply because they are searching those websites as well. But I would say 80 to 85% of your pool is going to be regional, central, or western New York, probably in that area. Again, and as we go through, one of the things we want to do prior to posting the position is we want to engage your stakeholder groups, your teachers association, your administrators association, you as a board, your PTA and so forth, to talk about what are the qualities, characteristics that we are looking for in candidates when they come through. It gives people an opportunity to participate up front and have some of their voices heard. We also do a short survey that we make available for a couple of weeks on your website that is widely posted, that allows people to react to a series of questions that help kind of glean some information, both internal and external, to your actual employees. It takes a little bit of time. And then you can see some of the other major aspects. So by the time we get through all of these things, after the posting, you're talking a good 6 months at least from that standpoint. I'm moving pretty quick. Any questions that I can answer for you at this point? Okay. So as we get toward the end here, there's some factors that, as a board, we'll need to have some more discussions, but factors that a board needs to consider. Confidentiality, obviously, is of the utmost importance. Boards can sometimes get put in difficult situations because people want to know what's going on, and we certainly want to find that balance between being transparent but also maintaining the confidentiality of a personnel process. And we can talk a little bit more about how we do that and what that looks like. Searches are time consuming. Have to warn you up front, there's going to be a point, if I end up doing the search, and I hope I do, that we sit down and say, okay, let's look at calendars. We're going to need 10 nights over the next 2 months. Not the next 2 months coming up, but there'll be a point where we need to set up interviews, opportunities for you to discuss as a board and so forth. That's where a little bit more cushion in that timeline helps us out, because you all have lives, you all have things going on as well, and we need to be able to make the timelines work for you as well. Involvement of stakeholders. We do many different things to try and involve stakeholders both upfront to the process and then before there's a hiring decision made. There are a lot of aspects we can do there. One of the most important things I want to stress with you is that all of the things that we do are to bring you as quality of information as we can on candidates, because it is ultimately, while you have a lot of people involved in the process, they are advisory to you. It is a decision of the corporate board. So my job is to give you the best information possible on these candidates so you can make the best decision you possibly can. And I'll flip the next page and just leave you with a couple of things. There's a lot of decisions, a lot of aspects of the search that need to be talked about and need to be made, but not right now. Okay, as a Board of Education, as you sit here tonight, there's a couple of things I think you should start having some discussion on and start talking about a little bit, and maybe start making some of these decisions. Number one is, I think you need to decide what you want to do with a search consultant. I would love to do the search. I can also give you some names of private consultants that I respect if you want to talk with them as well. Just being as transparent as possible on that. But at some point in the near future, you need to select a search consultant to do the search. And then you need to start thinking about, and this is a discussion we probably need to have at a later date, thinking about things like timeline. What really is the desired start date? Residency. Okay, districts make different decisions on, is residency preferred or required, and there are some different aspects of that play into how that affects your candidate pool. So that's a discussion, again, that we should probably be having, and I can give you some perspective on in different places how that has or has not affected a pool of applicants, and maybe some suggestions for how we've worked through that in different cases with different searches. It is important to most districts. Having it as an absolute upfront on that first day can be problematic for a district as well. So we can talk about some of those things, but start thinking about that. And then stakeholder involvement. One of the last things I would say would be, it is now public, and so people are going to want to know how they're going to get involved. One of the first things that probably should be done is sitting down with a search consultant, having a work session to develop a calendar or a draft calendar at least of activities, and getting that out there and having that public so your community and your faculty and staff know, yes, there's going to be a process, here are the major aspects of it, and here are going to be some opportunities that you can get involved in that process. A lot of other decisions to be made down the line, but they do not need to be made right now. There's plenty of time to work through those things.